Hey guys, welcome back. Robocraft Early Access coverage. This is episode 10. I'm Enigmason, and today we're looking at some very cool stuff. Recent patch gave us the articulated legs and the nano disruptors. We're not going to be looking at the nano disruptors this episode because I don't have any and I don't have any RP to buy them, but next episode we will. For this episode, we're going to focus on the legs, we're going to focus on my Tier 7 vehicle, and we're going to focus on some of the armor core additions that I've made to protect it. I want this vehicle to not only be large and menacing, but highly survivable. It's not just for looks, it's not just this big thing to make people say, oh my god, it's to really mess you up and survive a long time. In order to do that, I've taken some of that Triforce and Armor Core principles and come up with a couple of ideas that you guys might want to make use of in your own builds. The first is not new to this vehicle. I've been using this in builds for some time now. Is kind of like an armor coil. You can see underneath here, one of the things that I realized with this vehicle is because the legs elevate the vehicle off the ground. You can see there's the legs, and if we look across, right, we're at least one block off the ground no matter where we go or what we're doing. That means if someone's shooting plasma at us, the splash can actually cause damage to the vehicle from the bottom up, from underneath, and we want to prevent that from happening because if we lose our legs, we're kind of dead in the water. So what I did was on the underside, we placed these armor coils, which, using the way damage travels through prisms, to kind of keep it from spreading beyond the coil itself, and then using tetras up top here just to add more blocks to the coil so it's capable of absorbing more damage into blocks that we don't really care about, even though it kind of smooths out the aesthetic on the front. The primary purpose here is just to have more blocks to absorb damage. It means that we can absorb a certain amount of damage before it reaches the legs, before it reaches the blocks that connect the legs to the vehicle. So that's what we're looking at. But if we wanted to kind of come over here, I built this little example. As far as I know, damage doesn't transfer through the gaps in the prisms like this as though it was air. As far as I know, this is considered to be a whole block for the purposes of what can pass through and how. If I'm mistaken, we'll find out someday. Someone will do the testing. It won't be anytime soon, I don't think, unless FreeJam comes out and says, yeah, it'll pass through. It's that detailed, the collision detection, whatever. Let's assume no for now. You can see this is the exact same shape of the coil that's on our vehicle. And then on the other side, this is what it would look like if they were all made out of cubes. So take that same pattern, that same location for each of the prisms on the other side. It's like this whole coverage area here. And it gives us an opportunity to demonstrate the effectiveness of this whole armor coil. Now let's pretend for a second that this is our driver's seat. I can't put another driver's seat on the other side to mirror it because we're right at the edge of the building area. But for all intents and purposes, it's easy enough to keep track of. This is our driver's seat. Now let's say we take a shot from a railgun to this block here. Or, it doesn't matter any kind of gun. Just any kind of damage hits this block here. Spreads 1, 2 to the driver's seat. That's all it takes. It only has to go through 2 blocks to get to the driver's seat. That's not the greatest coverage, but it could be worse. It could be just nothing and hit the block under the driver's seat. On the other side, driver's seat here, take a shot here, it's the same thing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So in that scenario, this is the same as cubes. It's no better than cubes, but it's no worse either. These aren't really more expensive than cubes. You're getting at least the benefit of cubes out of this design. But let's say, for example, the rail shot comes from here, going to the driver's seat, right? From here, going to the driver's seat is 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. 3 blocks, no matter how you cut it, to spread to the driver's seat. Come around here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we see the benefit of controlling damage flow through a vehicle as we get all those extra blocks from there to here, because it can't transfer this way because of the way the damage travels through the prisms. It can't skip from here to here because it's got an option to go here instead, so it can't jump that way. It's got to go where we tell it to go, which is all the way around, more than doubling the effective armor value of the structure before it gets to the driver's seat. That's the idea behind these guys. Now, obviously, if we're catching splash damage from plasma and each of these blocks is being hit all at the same time, taking damage, this could only last one shot. It may even disintegrate and damage goes up and takes off the legs, but it's no worse than what you would get if these were made out of the same tier of cubes. So it's better or the same as, which is pretty cool. Now, the other thing that I wanted to kind of consider, this is a little bit more complicated of a shape, but it's really nothing complicated once you get, a good close look at what's going on. But we'll start off with the reason why we made this shape, and that was because I didn't want damage traveling from the legs directly to the driver's seat. So if I take a big beefy shot to a leg, more than enough damage to take out the leg, takes out the block the leg is on, and then has only got 2 or 3 blocks to get to the driver's seat. That's not really good. That's not what I'm going for. And at the same time, this vehicle really, despite all of the bulky stuff on the front and the back, it's only 3 blocks wide. You can see that when we get over here. We're building some extra armor protection on the outsides. This isn't done yet, but that's what it's there for. But it's only 3 blocks wide in the middle. We don't want that damage to transfer from this leg to that leg and blow both of them off with one hit over here. So what I did was took that same kind of coil design, strictly just worrying about routing damage, right? We're tracing a path where the damage is going to go to. And I put these green prisms here just to pretend these are the legs. These are the legs that are connecting to these blocks. That's a leg connecting to that block. If you look at the way this is set up, this leg here connects to this block, which goes to here, and then this one here, and then up into this one right here, and then forward, or back towards us, I guess you could say, into this one, and then it stops. There's really nowhere I can send damage to based on the way the blocks are placed. Now, apparently, if there's enough damage traveling through it, will jump, even though it's not technically connected to a block. The damage will jump to another block. I ain't worried. Point is, this one isn't directly connected to that one. Then we come over on this side, and we've got block connecting around through up, back, up, forward, up, right? And then we've got sort of the flow through here, and then that's right above this guy. Now we've got these two guys are aligned, so they're symmetrical with one another. They aren't connected to one another, so we can't have damage traveling directly through that way. Even if the damage jumps, it's got to go a long way before it reaches the other leg. But these two things separated from one another create kind of an issue. How do we connect this to the rest of the vehicle without making it weak at the connection? And this is something that I've seen come up in forum posts discussing the armor core principle, is that sometimes you still end up with these weak connections to the middle. What we do, I hope I have enough tetras left for this, is we go like that, and now, based on just those, these two guys are connected, right? These two sections, these two legs are considered connected. You could put a driver's seat and they would all be good and happy and connected, but yeah, we ran out. That's okay. We've got... See, we just go down the line. Now we've got, in addition to this connection here that's connecting this to this, and then this we can take and connect wherever we want, we've got 4 blocks at this joint, plus these blocks here. So this connection is now 6 blocks instead of just 1, where they come together. 6 instead of 1. That's when we talk about ratios and the numbers, that's the effectiveness of the whole idea, is that we're bulking things out with extra blocks for a specific purpose. Then we go like this, and then we take something like this, and now we've got another 6 block connection connecting to the wheels. So this is a very, very strong connection as connections go. We could have just gone for a 1 block sort of travel path to the wheels, or sorry, to the driver's seat eventually, but by adding these extra blocks here to connect this one and this one, if we want damage to go from this guy into here and around and all this other stuff and then up and around, it's so many blocks it has to travel through. The chances of losing 2 wheels at the same time because one took a really bad hit are dramatically reduced. Then we can go like this, and like this, and like this, maybe something like this, and then we want to do a little flippy flop thing. So we go, actually we did the flippy too soon. There we go. Now we go like this and this, and hopefully we won't run out of building space. No, we're gonna be fine, like so. And then we'll take a couple of these, go like that, and then like that. Then we go down, and then pretend that this continues on down just like this one did, and you end up doing this same thing over on the other side. Now you've got 4 connections for your movable bits. This is a very weak connection. You got to do something with that. I'm not saying this is the way that you would do it and leave it, just saying this is the basics of how you would start to set it up. And then your driver's seat goes right there. Armor the sides in a way that's not connecting, armor the other side in a way that's not connecting, and that's the basics of what's going on with this vehicle. See, the idea now is routing that damage and then bulking it out with the Tetras so that you can still keep it confined, because the Tetra won't transfer damage anywhere except to other Tetras or the prisms in behind them. It won't transfer, you know, out to the side or anything like that. It's very localized where the damage can go. Not complicated to build. It doesn't look horrible, and then you can build around it however you like, and you're going to end up with a much stronger vehicle than the guy who just kind of does everything with cubes. You can bury your driver's seat in an armor core setup just as easily as some guy can bury his driver's seat in a brick, but yours is going to have that added benefit of being able to route damage around things before it goes directly to the driver's seat. So enough of that. There's a couple more tricks you can use for your armor core stuff. The coils, and then using the similar to the coils, just routing the damage and then connecting them with very, very strong connections. Very, very briefly, because I haven't been able to test this for a little while because I had these little demo things set up and they would have been destroyed as soon as I went into the practice map. So I just very quickly want to show you what's going on with this vehicle, and then we're going to get into that practice map. One of the things is you can jump with just the legs, but it's kind of limited in terms of how far you can go or how high you can go with the jump. So I added a little bit of help. There's these thrusters here. Pretty sure these are tier 6. And there's 2 more in the back. We want it kind of symmetrical, otherwise it starts doing flips in the air. We kind of like to avoid that. We've also got these 4 tier 2 thrusters facing downward, because you can hold shift, which is the descend button, and these thrusters will fire. In the case that you should happen to get flipped in this vehicle, you can hold shift and lift up one side of the vehicle and start flipping it over back onto its legs. So that's, instead of a flipper that you have to wait on and hope that it works, this is a little bit more controlled and on demand. We've got the 4 legs, like I say. Apparently you could put legs on the front of the vehicle and they work as well, but I think we're going to hold off on that because CPU capacity is going to be an issue for this build. You can see I've got SMGs all over this thing. This is eventually going to be a rail vehicle. I know rails suck right now. Rails are such a pain in the ass to use, but for a vehicle like this, rails I think might be where I want to be. But I've got 1 on the back because you get attacked from behind, 1 on the top, 2 more on the front here. These will be raised up once I'm finished with all the detailing on the front. And then I put these 2 on the side of the vehicle so that they could fit closely with these guys, but so they look kind of like the little legs that spiders have covering their mandibles. Maybe almost like 6 legs instead of 4, if they're really, really tiny, something like that. And a driver's seat. I think I've actually got a radar in here somewhere as well. Maybe. If not, I'll have to get one in there. This back section gives you an idea of what the front section is going to mostly look like. There's going to be some interesting changes on the front section, I hope, that we'll hopefully look at in the next couple of episodes, because it's slow to build, buying all the blue cubes, and then I just start using the cheaper cubes to fill things out and see what they'll look like. I think that's all I can think of on this vehicle for now, which means the only thing that we have left to do is to add a driver's seat. And these blocks and the ones in the back are going to go red. And apparently those ones as well. What did I have there? I don't know. Doesn't matter. We'll have to figure out what I had and then maybe replace it. Whatever, doesn't matter. Some cubes are yes, okay. Alright, so that's our little spider. He's got guns. He's got a few guns. Not as many as I would like, but he's got guns. And this is how he moves. That's one of the coolest details I've seen in a game in a long time. I just think it's really well done. Very well executed. And the best part about it, get out of the way, is that you can go straight up walls, which is also super cool. And then you can stop. And then, while stuck to the wall, you can do your thing, and then continue up the wall. And then you can go like this. Now, again, you can jump with the legs. Oh, I hit the button. I have to balance the vehicle. Either way, I mean, you can see, you can jump, and we've got the thrusters on the vehicle so that I can extend my jump a little bit. I can jump a little bit higher once I've got the vehicle balanced. You can see it's weighted towards the back with that big bulb where the SMG guns are in the back end here. But all in all, quite cool. It's about the movement and the versatility. It's a lot like the hover platform. It's the one thing with wheeled vehicles is that they're maybe a little bit easier to protect, but they're limited. The terrain really messes with them, especially on the ice maps, but generally anywhere where you've got little divots and rises in the terrain, it can be kind of a problem to deal with. And then the only other thing that we need to test is we're going to do our best to flip over. There we go. And Spider, are you going to flip? You can... Sorry, I find that amusing. He's trying to walk with his little legs. What can we do to promote the flipping? Let's, there we go. Now we're flipped. Gary. Gary doesn't know what to make of us. But if we now hit shift, is it shift? Is it back? Is it that? Are we? Oh, I think we might be too close to the wall. Okay. When I last tested this vehicle, the thrusters, the tier 2 thrusters, were, you could see them firing underneath. Like, it's not an issue of them firing. I'm holding the descend key. It's that the ass end of the vehicle is now too heavy for these guys to do their job. I'm sorry. I'm such a failure. But it was too early to call it quits just yet. We have to shoot a few things. Let's see. You can see the front guns are pretty useless, actually. Did you notice that? They were firing off to the sides. They're just firing into all the wrong places. What about if we got something behind us? Actually, the front guns do better when they're supporting fire on the side and behind than when they're shooting forwards, which is kind of odd. And then we do the little jumpy thing, and then we're going to start spinning. No, we're good. So very, very important with the thrusters and things that the vehicle has to be balanced relative to how the thrusters are placed. Otherwise, as you saw, things like even just going like this, how it turns, it's not completely balanced, but we'll get it sorted out. You can tell very much, like the midsection and the front section are still far from being complete. I just have to manage what I want on them versus what I can afford to put on them without running out of CPU capacity, because that's kind of the crappy bit, is running out of CPU capacity before you're done building what you want. We can jump, we can fly, we can spin, sometimes even land, and then find out that we need better thrusters. They're actually firing and causing us to turn right now, just not enough to flip over. So that's the Spider in the early stages. like I say, probably the next 2 or 3 episodes we'll have it done. We'll take it into some matches. The next episode, we'll be talking about the Nano Disruptors. I don't know that I'll necessarily have a vehicle with them, but I'll have some match footage showing them in action. We can talk about what's going on with the game since they were added. Some interesting things from the casual observer standpoint, from the participant standpoint. It can be kind of frustrating at times. But that's for the next episode. So if you want to know when I add that next episode, one easy way to do that is to subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on the social media. Links for that are in the information section below the video. You'll get a little blurb when I add a video there. If you have any comments or feedback, by all means, leave it in the appropriate section below. And as always, thanks for watching, guys, and take care.